All right, so 2024 was a pretty decent reading year for me. I did not reach all the goals that I wanted. I didn't complete all of the challenges that I wanted, but I didn't do too bad. I read 62 books in 2024, which is decent, right? I usually aim for 100. I have only successfully done that like 1 year in the past couple of years. It's been rough, but there's a lot going on. Like this year, I just bought a new house. I had to move and decorate and all of that kind of stuff. I also have 3 kids. So like life gets a little crazy. So over here, you will actually see a lovely list of all of the books that I read. Yes, I did just screen record my Goodreads because actually keeping a list of all of the books that I read is not a thing. Goodreads does it for me for a reason. But you can see all the books that I read, and of those books, there were a few that I really, really enjoyed. So today, I'm going to tell you about those. So to start off my list of favorite books in 2024, to be fair, 2024 was definitely a year of rereads for me because I wanted to start tackling some of those series that I had kind of abandoned out in the wilderness by themselves. And with that, some of them I had read years ago, so I didn't entirely remember all the details. So I did have a lot of rereads in 24, but that led to a lot of really good books that I read, and I'm super excited about it. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is actually, this is the sequel to Only a Monster by Vanessa, and let me tell you, I love this book so much. No, I love the, hold on, let me try and get that because the foiling. Gorgeous. This is a Fairy Loot edition, but anyways. So the first book, Only a Monster, was one of my favorites when it came out years ago. I actually had received it in a book box subscription, and by I mean 3. I got it in 3 subscriptions that year, and I am just shocked that not as many people talk about it as they should. It is such a great book, and like most books, for some strange reason, I always love the second book more than the first, and this is like one of the examples of it. The first book was great, super amazing. The sequel, oh my god, like I couldn't speak after I read this. It's just awesome. So Only a Monster, Never a Hero. It is a YA fantasy with a time travel aspect. So the main character, Joan, is actually half monster. Monsters in this aren't your traditional sense of monsters where they're like all creepy and whatever. They're just normal people, but what they do is they actually time travel by stealing life from other people. So if a monster touches you, they can steal like 5 minutes of life from you. And then what happens is your life is 5 minutes shorter, but they can use that 5 minutes to travel through time. So she is half monster. She just finds out in the beginning of Only a Monster that she is a monster on her mom's side of the family. Her mom was never really around growing up. She was raised by her dad, but she does spend time with her family on her mom's side. And one time when she's visiting her aunts or her grandma and cousins and all of that kind of stuff, she accidentally steals time and slips into the future. It turns out that the guy that she has had a crush on, that she's been volunteering at this museum with for months, is actually a monster hunter, and he decides to go on a rampage and kill her whole family. There's not a whole lot of spoilers. This happens like right in the beginning of the book, and she then teams up with other monsters to go back in time and try and prevent that catastrophic event from happening. Well, obviously the plot continues. The sequel of this book continues that storyline, and we dive deeper into why these things are happening, why these characters in the story keep finding each other, keep running into each other, why they feel like they know each other so well. And it dives into that realm of changing the past, but it does it well. Like, it's not one of those things where you see like a whole bunch of plot holes. Because of the way it's written, it's actually done very well. Time travel stories can be so tricky just because of the concept of, you know, changing something in the past, changing something in the future, all that kind of stuff. I feel like this story does it so well, and I absolutely love it. There's also a character in here named Erin, and if you are a fan of Erin Warner, then you will also be a fan of this Erin. Okay, there are very few blonde characters that I love. You know, I love our dark-haired, you know, brooding shadow daddy types, but there are a few blondes. And for some strange reason, all the blondes that I love are all named Erin, okay? They are all named Erin, and this is one of them. So I absolutely loved this series, and I highly recommend picking it up because it is so good. The third book in the series, I don't know if it's the final book, but I know that the third one is actually coming out in August of this year. I have been waiting for it patiently, and I'm super, super excited. The next book that I read is actually a new series. The sequel, I think, is coming out sometime this month. I feel like it might be the middle of the month, but that would be The Crimson Moth, or in the US, it's known as The Heartless Huntsman. They're the same exact book, it's just the US publisher decided to change the name, but this was such a good book. It is also, again, a YA fantasy, and it follows a girl who is a witch in a society where witches have been overthrown and, you know, removed from the situation. But she's a witch. She has been hiding the fact that she is a witch, and she's basically a socialite, ditzy socialite during the day, but then at night she's a witch-saving vigilante. So she uses her influence to get into places to save other witches from their fate. In this story, she needs to get close to the captain of the hunters, or the captain of something, the witch hunters. I want to say he's the captain of the witch hunters, but I can't remember exactly what his title is. But she gets close to him to get information so that she can get one of her grandmother's friends out of captivity. And of course, he's our sad boy type, the brooding sad boy, whatever. And you know what? He is also using her at the same time, so it works out. And then they kind of have like this fake dating but falling in love sort of situation. But then it turns out, but then, things ensue. So we get to see what happens next later in this month, and I'm super, super excited about it. The next book that was in my top for the year is another sequel. All of the book twos in series, I don't know why, but I always prefer them. Like even like Caraval, for example. Legendary, my favorite in that series. In Once Upon a Broken Heart, Ballad of Never After was my favorite in that series. Never a Hero. Hopefully, it's not my favorite, but if it is, I won't be mad about it because for some reason the second books are always my favorite, and that was no different with the Red Rising series. So this is the second book in the original Red Rising series. So there's a 3-book series for Red Rising, and then there's another 4 that come after. 4, yeah. There's 3 right now, and there's gonna be a 4th. So, but this is the second one in the first trilogy, and oh my goodness, when I read this book, I don't think I could speak for quite a while afterwards. I'm pretty sure I did a video where I was just like, what happened? So this is a sci-fi fantasy dystopian. It's like a little bit of all of it. It is set in our solar system where all of the planets have been terraformed to different homes. So humanity has ventured out from Earth because they were killing it and all that kind of stuff. The main character is a low-born person. He's a red. It's a color-coded system. Red's at the bottom, gold's at the top. He's a red. He joins a underground group, the Son of Ares, to try and take down the system because it's unfair. He's fighting the system, all that. The third book, I just finished it, is like, you're closing and everything, but all of the chaos, all of the madness, the highs, the lows, the rises and falls, it was just so good. Like, this is probably the most emotional I have been about a book since like Kingdom of Ash. I don't think I had felt that kind of emotional attachment and like that roller coaster of emotions and just all of it since I read Kingdom of Ash, which is saying something because Kingdom of Ash is like, if you've read it, like Throne of Glass is my favorite series. This is now my second favorite series. I loved this one so absolutely much. Next on the list is something that I did not ever think that would be on one of my lists, and that book is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Faeries. I never in a million years thought that this would make it on like one of my top for the year lists because I'm not a cozy reader. Like I never assumed that I would enjoy cozy so much, but I do apparently. Like I enjoyed this book so terribly much, and I don't know if it's because everything I've been reading has been so high stakes and it was just nice to have something that was low stakes and like relaxing, but I loved this book, like absolutely loved it. So Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia Fairies. So it follows a woman who is a researcher. She's in academia and she goes around the world researching fairies from different areas, and with that information she's compiling an encyclopedia of all the fairies. Well, she goes to a town that's kind of icy, out of the way, and she wants to learn about their fairies because they're unique to the area. Like that area, you'll only find those kind of fairies. And as she's there, she sees how this town is struggling and she helps them with their fairy problem, basically. She's also kind of not the most outgoing. She doesn't know how to handle people very well, which causes some strife in the town amongst the town people. And then you have the male main character who is her colleague. They're not really enemies. They're not really rivals either. They're friends. He's just that annoying colleague who's just kind of gotten everything handed to him. Everyone like views him so highly, and she's just kind of like, I'm sick of you. You know what I mean? Like there's some jealousy there, but he's just honestly a decent dude, and he really likes her, and they're friends. And she finally admits to them being friends. She's like, yeah, I can tolerate you. And we find out things along the way, and it's a cute, cozy story. And I never in my life would have thought that I would like this as much as I did, but I really, really enjoyed this book. Next on our list is going to be What the River Knows. You will notice that, yes, all of these books have been Fairy Loot editions. Yeah, that's accidental. There is one that isn't, so in all fairness, it's not like all of them. But this is why I love subscription boxes, because they send me these books that I don't know if I would have ever picked up otherwise, but I get them. So anyways, What the River Knows. So this one is actually a historical fantasy. It is set, I feel like turn of the century. Let me see. Yeah. So this is set kind of in the turn of the century period. Ooh, what happened to my book? Why are you all messed up at the top? Oh no. Anyways, so this book is very like The Mummy in like the Egyptian aspect. So it's turn of the century. The main character, Inez, her parents are missing. They went to Egypt. They are Egyptologists. They usually spend half of their year in Egypt while she's back at home. And in this case, her parents go missing. So she decides to travel to Egypt, meet up with her uncle who was there with her parents, and try to solve the mystery of where her parents went. There is kind of a roguish character that's her age that is along for her ride. There's some mysteries. There's also some magic. There's Egyptian magic. She gets this ring sent to her from her dad, and that just seems to be the catalyst for a lot of things in the story. I enjoyed it so much. The sequel has come out. I am waiting for my Fairy Loot edition of this to read it, and I've been waiting for a very long time, which I'm not entirely happy about, but that's okay. I still really enjoyed this book. I hope that the sequel is as good, but I really liked it. Like, this was one of my favorite reads this year. And then the last one is actually one that I read in December. So this was like at the very end of the year. I mean, it's made its rounds around like Book Talk and Instagram and all of that. And I don't always trust the opinions of those on Book Talk, because there are some books that have been recommended or that are very popular, and I'm like, oh God, why? But that's neither here nor there. But the book that I am referring to is Quicksilver. So Quicksilver is one that was an indie publish. It got picked up for traditional publishing and it came out in December. So was it December? Yeah, I think it was December. It might have been the end of November. No, I think it was December. But I bought it as soon as it came out in the US. That's why it's a paperback. Eventually, they're coming out with the hardcovers, but it's not going to be for a little while. So I got the paperback version. I don't know why, but I love this book so much. It's very reminiscent of like a Sarah J. Maas series, but different enough that you're not like, oh my God, this is the same exact series. So the main female protagonist lives in a world that's basically like the desert. Okay, so they are in the slums. They're struggling to survive. She's a thief. She steals things to survive because of this. In their world, water is rationed to a point of like one human adult gets like a half a cup of water a day, and where she is in the slums, they don't even get the clean water. They get the bad water. And she pulls a heist, stunty sort of situation, gets herself caught and in trouble. In the process, she is to be put to death. She ends up doing something weird, almost dying, and then is teleported to another world. I mean, technically teleported. But she's taken to another world, and in this world, she finds out that there is a war raging. She finds out that she has an ability. She's basically an artificer. There's alchemy, there's wars, there's a whole bunch of stuff, a great cast of characters. And then you have your main love interest, who is named Kingfisher. I don't think that that's his real name. They call him Fisher sometimes. I think that it was a title given to him, and that's what they call him. I don't think it's his real name, but we'll find out, I guess, because Kingfisher is just a strange name, but that's besides the point. I absolutely loved this series. The characters are amazing. You know, there's the action, there's the romance, there's the banter. He's kind of a dick sometimes. I mean, if that's your thing, it's kind of my thing. But I absolutely loved this book. It is not the most literary of things. It is not some philosophical, commentary on society. It is pure entertainment, but oh my God, is it entertaining. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. And I believe the sequel is coming out later on this year. So I'm excited for that. And I'm also excited to get this in hardcover because I love reading a good floppy paperback, but I like collecting the hardcovers. So yeah. Anyways, so that is my top, that is my top, I think it's 6 books. Yeah, these are my top books for 2024. Yeah, let's do it on this side. No, my poor books. I mean, I could have added more, but I don't know. I think these were like my favorite. I tried to do 5, but I'm like, no, there's definitely 6. But I absolutely loved these books. I would highly recommend them. Obviously, the sequels, you're gonna have to read the first one first, but those are also really good too. It's just, I find the sequels to be even better. So down in the comments, let me know what your top reads for 2024 were. Maybe it's something I can add to my TBR, or maybe I already have it. Hopefully I already have it, because I don't think I need to buy any more books. But if I already have it, I can add it to a list. That way I can read it sooner, because sometimes I've got books that just sit on my shelf for years until something suggests that I read one. So please do let me know down below. If you have not subscribed yet, please don't forget to do so. That way you can get notifications when I add new videos. And if you happen to like this video, please don't forget to like it. It does help me out in the end. And I appreciate you guys for coming back, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.